When we are scared. Fear is a universal emotion. We all get scared sometimes. And when we're scared, we all need help and support, especially when what we've been through causes overwhelming fear. My name is Chandra, and I'm the Associate Director of the Child Trauma Research Program at the University of California, San Francisco. As part of my work, I direct and support the dissemination of an evidence-based treatment model called child-parent psychotherapy. Within CPP, we work jointly with families with children under the age of 6 to help the child and family heal and recover from traumatic and stressful experiences. I've been doing work in the area of stress and trauma for the past 26 years. In my roles as a therapist, researcher, and trainer, I've heard the stories of well over 700 families. I hope that I carry their voices forward today. Many of these families have experienced not only direct trauma, but intergenerational, historical, and sociocultural trauma. They deserve to be understood and supported, and I hope that Squirrel and all the other animals in this webinar help all of us to help them better. This webinar is being offered free of charge. Please feel free to share it along with the other resources that can be found on our website, PIploproductions.com. Just make sure that you read and follow the copyright guidelines. While we hope that the webinar provides you with lots of good information about the impact of stress and trauma, if you, your child, or someone you work with is experiencing symptoms, please consult with a mental health provider or other professional. The development of this webinar was funded in part through my work with the Early Trauma Treatment Network, a site of the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. This incredible network was founded in 2001 through a grant from SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. For more information, please visit nctsn.org. Along with the NCTSN, I would like to acknowledge my colleagues at the UCSF Child Trauma Research Program and my fellow child-parent psychotherapy therapists and trainers. We work on a daily basis to help families recover from traumatic experiences. You are the wise porcupines in the story. My team also works collaboratively with many infant mental health colleagues. We're fortunate to have excellent partners through the Irving Harris Professional Development Network and 0 to 3. And we're all working together to address the needs of young children who've experienced trauma and to ensure that all babies and toddlers have a strong start in life. In our work with very young children under the age of 6 who've experienced trauma, we're often asked the question, will they really remember? Will they really remember if they were 5 years old? How about if they were 3? What if they were babies? And then people often ask us, will experiencing trauma and stress affect them, given that they're so little? And if it does, how can we help them? So I thought we might think about this together by first reading a story, then taking some time to think about it, and then going more in depth in terms of what the story helps us understand about how stress and trauma affect young children. And then after we have a good understanding of some of the negative consequences, I think it would be important to think together about how we can partner to create healing spaces that support recovery. So let's go ahead and get started with the story. I wrote the story a while back and designed it so that it would serve as a population-based intervention. What that means is that I was hoping that the characters in the story would help grown-ups and children understand something about stress and trauma. In particular, I hope that the book might help us talk about different types of events that we might have experienced that would have been stressful or traumatic, ways that we might all react to these types of events, and things that might help. Interpersonal violence is the #1 human epidemic. There aren't enough therapists to go around, and it's critical that we all understand how we can help and support children and each other in recovering and healing from traumatic and stressful experiences. I hope the book and the little animals in the story help us. There is a free PDF version available on our website, PIploproduction.com, and the story is available currently in English, Spanish, Turkish, and Arabic. There are also hardcover and paperback versions of the story. Now let's read it. Once I was very, very scared. Once I was very, very scared. Me too. Me too. Me too. So scared. Not me. I'm never scared. Ribbit? I don't like to talk about it. I wonder what scared you. The wind, it was so loud, it hurt my house, my toys were broken, the nuts went everywhere, the whole place was shaking. I saw someone get hurt. Bit? Someone I love left. I don't like it when people leave. They leave a lot. People were fighting. I hid, but they kept fighting. They went on and on. People started yelling. No one wanted me around. I got scared and I sprayed. They yelled more and I sprayed more. I don't remember what happened, but it was bad. I worry bad things might happen again. Someone hurt me, but no one's ever going to hurt me again. I can bite and I can growl. Grrr. Arf! Arf! Stop it, I don't like when you do that. Arf! Arf! He's so loud. Arf! 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 You're scaring me. Psst! Hey! Why'd you do that? Go away or I'll do it again. My heart is beating so fast I want to run. Please don't go. I need to run. I need to go home and find my family. I hear that you want your family, and I know you want to move. Let's find a safe way for you to move around. Hey, where's Turtle? Turtle, please don't go away. Leave me alone. My tummy hurts. I don't like what Dog did with the barking and the growling and the running around and making noise. It's very scary. I don't like it. I don't like when bad things happen. I don't like it at all. Rib? I have to go to the bathroom. Are you okay? I don't like this. Grr. Oh, it seems like you all got upset, but you show how you feel in different ways. Let's think together about what might help. I'm so sorry someone hurt you before. No one is going to hurt you here. I know I look prickly. People sometimes worry that I might poke them, but I won't. I might get frustrated or a little mad because it's hard when things get crazy, but I won't hurt you. You smell okay. Thank you. I'll try hard to earn your trust, but I know it might take time. You were really loud. I have very sensitive ears. Yes, that's true. You don't like it when things are loud. When Dog barked, I don't think he meant to scare you. He was just trying to show what he would do if anyone tried to bother him. Well, here, if anyone bothers you, it's my job to help them learn not to bother you. It's my job to keep you safe. Here, you don't need to growl or bark. You can just tell me what's happening, and I'll listen to you. Then we will decide what to do. Can we try that? Yes, but I might forget. That's okay. You're learning, and we will help you learn. We want this to be a safe place where you don't need to bark or growl. Or bite. That's true. Biting's not safe. Sometimes it's hard for us to talk about what's going on inside us or figure out how we can calm down. When you feel scared or when you have other hard feelings like sad, angry, frustrated, embarrassed, or ashamed, what do you do? I hide. My tummy hurts. I remember what my mommy said. She said we should share our feelings and talk about what scares us. Oh, and sometimes I eat. Nuts make me feel better. Oh, and I don't sleep very well. And sometimes I talk too much. I lose my voice and all I can say is croak, croak. I want to say more. I want to yell and say how scared I am, but all that comes out is croak. I jump up and run fast, and sometimes I get hurt. I become a real stinker. I find someone to hold on to and hug. Some people don't like it when I do that. I pretend I'm not here, but pretty soon I'm not pretending. I really feel like I'm not here, and I don't know where I am. What about you? I growl and I bark. When I do, people don't bother me. I don't like to talk about it. That's true. You don't like to talk about it. Maybe it's scary to talk about bad things that happened. Even though you don't like to talk about it, I wonder if you think about it. Often? Almost all the time. You've all been through a lot, and it makes sense that you feel this way. But it also seems like you need help so you don't keep feeling this way. Maybe we can learn new things to do that help us when we feel scared or mad or sad. That year, all the little animals learned lots of things. They learned how to write their names, they learned how to play fun games, and very, very importantly, they learned what they could do when they were scared, angry, sad, and feeling bad inside. Music helps me calm down. I still like to run, but I also found a safe place where I can be calm and snuggle. I talked to my mom, and she said she was very sorry that someone hurt me. I will keep you safe and make sure no one ever hurts you again. This makes me feel much better. I play water ball with friends, and that makes me feel so good. My dad said that bad things don't usually happen, and that makes me feel better. I learned to breathe. When I get scared, I pay attention to the air going in and out of my body, and that helps me calm down. I learned that even though people sometimes go away, there are people I love who always come back. I learned I'm really a cool skunk and not a little stinker, and I have friends who care about me and want me around. I learned I can trust some people. I find that a cup of tea and a little support helps me. And I learned that it's good to talk about things, sometimes. Thanks for listening to the story. Hopefully you're sitting with somebody and you can take the time now to talk with them about the story. Maybe you might talk about what you thought, where your mind went, and kind of what the little animals helped you to learn. So go ahead and pause the webinar and talk to someone around you. Welcome back. I hope you had some good thoughts and conversations, and I really wish that I could hear your ideas. I thought I would share some of the things that others have brought up after we've read the book together. Many people have said that it was validating to know that there was no one way to respond to stress and trauma. Others have noticed that when the animals show their reactions to stressful events, it's really easy to have empathy for them. And in fact, sometimes we have more empathy for them than we do for kids or for each other. And that might be something that's good to think about. Some people have said that it felt good to be able to talk about the different stress response patterns, including their own stress response patterns. Some people readily identify with one animal, but a lot of us are mixed. And just so you know, the picture on the screen is a free handout that children and adults can color in or use to think about who they're most like. Let's go back to that idea that while we might identify more strongly with one animal, we can also be mixed. I thought I would use myself as an example. This is a picture of me when I was little. I wanted to find a picture where I looked a little bit freaked out. And as my family knows, I'm pretty much squirrel. Squirrel is my totem animal. When I get stressed, I talk a lot and I make a lot of PowerPoint slides. I also stress eat, not nuts, but chocolate. I can be a little bit like rabbit and get jumpy and hypervigilant, and there are times when I might be like elephant and not want to talk about things. And while I don't like to admit it, there are certainly people and situations that bring out the dog in me. So later in the webinar, we'll talk more about the different stress response reactions of each animal, and you can think about how they apply to you or to the child or family member that you're thinking of. Now, just as we have different responses to stress, people have also noticed that we have many different patterns and pathways for healing and regulation. These are some of the common ways that we can work together to help children. Like dog and rabbit at the top of the page, children are helped when they first feel safe in the arms of loving family members. After that, there are a variety of different options, including music, sports, deep breathing, doing things that make you feel competent and capable, and many other things. And we'll talk about that more later when we talk about pathways for healing. But let's go back to the original questions. One of the original questions was, will they really remember? Well, let's think about Dog. When Dog was a puppy, someone hurt Dog. For those of you who are listening, I wonder how many of you have rescue animals, a dog or a cat. And how many of you might understand if I told you that when I was little, my family adopted a dog from the SPCA. And we believed that my dog was hurt by a man, because my dog had strong reactions when men came to our house. And if it was a man with facial hair, it was worse. And my dog was even more scared if that man was also wearing a hat. So we believed that before we got our dog, when our dog was a puppy, our dog might have been hurt by a man with facial hair who often wore hats. And if you kind of look like this guy and you came to our house, we would tell you that you needed to move slowly, that you need to sit on your knees, sit on the ground, let my dog sniff you, and then my dog would start to feel safe. So take a moment and think about whether you have had similar experiences with your fur friends, or if at least you might find what I'm saying to be reasonable. So what I'm saying is that my dog remembers being hurt when my dog was a puppy. So the thing is, if you believe me, then that means that you believe that the puppy remembers. And so if we go back to the question of, will the child remember? Will they remember when they're 5, when they're 3? What about if they were a baby? And the thing is, if we believe that the dog remembers what happened when the dog was a puppy, then we've got to believe that it's possible that the baby remembers too. While it's hard to think about them remembering, it's perhaps really important that we think about what these experiences have taught them. So as we think about Turtle, Turtle tells us that people were fighting. I hid, but they kept fighting. They went on and on. And so one thing that we might think about is that Turtle, after going through so many different fights and arguments, may have learned something about anger. So let's think together about maybe what Turtle learned about what happens when people get angry. If you want, this might be a good place to pause the webinar and just think about what people who witness fights over and over learn about anger. So what Turtle learned is that bad things happen when people get angry, that people sometimes go away, that people get hurt, that things are unsafe, that anger destroys. Anger destroys families. Anger destroys relationships. Turtle has also learned to feel helpless. Turtle would say, I don't know what to do when this comes up. That anger actually causes a lot of fear in Turtle and a lot of helplessness and paralyzation. And that Turtle also feels all alone. And what about Monkey? Well, Monkey tells us that someone left, and that Monkey doesn't like when people leave because they leave a lot. And actually, so many people have left Monkey. So his dad is no longer around and in his life. His grandma passed away, and his mom got really depressed after that. So while she was still around, for Monkey, that also felt like a loss. And even though Monkey's only 2 years old, I think we can all imagine how much Monkey worries. And that if we're there with Monkey and we say, I'm going to be here and I'm going to take care of you, Monkey's not so sure, because all those other people have left. And even if Mom gets some help and she's okay, Monkey might be watching her thinking, okay, you look okay, but I'm not sure. So what about Frog? No one hurt Frog. Frog was hurt in an accident, and Frog had a whole lot of medical procedures. But that probably wouldn't affect Frog as badly, right? Well, actually, Frog may see things differently from us. And being very little, Frog may be very confused by what happened. A lot of children that we've worked with have really had questions. They've wondered why, when they went in an ambulance, their parents didn't go with them. Their bodies have remembered painful medical procedures, and sometimes they've wondered why their families could let this happen to them. So we see things as From a grown-up lens, we see things that we're helping to save their life, that the doctors are doing medical procedures because they need to. But very young children may really feel like bad things are happening to them, even where we would know that they were happening to them in order to help them. And as Frog grows up, it's possible that Frog's body will remember that feeling of danger, even if Frog doesn't have clear verbal memories of what happened. So we've talked a lot about dog, turtle, monkey, and frog, and it seems like they'd really remember. But even more than that, perhaps we need to ask a different question. It's not really whether they'll remember, but what they learned. It's what these experiences and the way we respond to them teach them. And we all need to recognize that the learning happens not just in the brain, but all throughout the body. As Bessel van der Kolk has said, the body keeps the score. And this is especially true when children are little. They might not retain verbal memories of what happened, but their bodies may remember. Let's take a moment. It's so hard to think about what they've been through, how their small bodies are often in a state of alarm. As we work together, it's important that we hold hope, because it is possible to change things. It is possible to create a healing space where they can learn something new. And we'll talk about how we can work together to create a healing space a little bit later in the webinar, a space where they can learn and grow and learn to do new things with people, learn that people are safe. But right now, let's think together about how the animals help us to think about common reactions to stress and trauma. In my work as a mental health provider, it's been important to recognize and be able to diagnose post-traumatic stress reactions. And there are a number of classification systems that we use to do this. In the United States, the DSM-5 is perhaps the most widely used system. Other countries use the ICD, and I'm really excited to hear that the ICD-11 will be adding the diagnosis of complex PTSD to capture the experience of those who've experienced multiple ongoing or long-term traumatic experiences. For those of us working with young children, it's important to recognize that young children have unique needs and challenges, and that they have different ways potentially of expressing their symptoms. 0 to 3 recognized this and convened a multidisciplinary panel of experts to develop the first developmentally based system for diagnosing mental health and developmental disorders in infants and toddlers. It's called the DC 0 to 5. These different systems provide a common language for health professionals working across disciplines with families. But I've been wondering if maybe the animals offer another way that we could understand and talk to families about the different ways that we all might react in the face of stressful or traumatic experiences. Squirrel, for example, embodies many of the symptoms that typically fall under the PTSD re-experiencing cluster. Squirrel talks and plays a lot about what happened. Squirrel reminds me of some of the children I've worked with who play out scenes where cars repeatedly crash or animals fight over and over. And this is their way of showing us that within their homes, people sometimes crash a lot or fight a lot. Squirrel asks a lot of questions, and even when we feel like we've given Squirrel really good answers, Squirrel may ask the same questions over and over. Squirrel may be showing us that when scary things happen, children and grown-ups can feel overwhelmed by memories. Because of this, Squirrel has a lot of problems sleeping, and even when Squirrel is sleeping, Squirrel may be haunted by memories. All of these worries can sometimes affect Squirrel's eating habits. Sometimes Squirrel stress eats, and other times Squirrel doesn't want to eat anything, not even a really tasty nut. So hopefully this picture helps you both to understand Squirrel and to understand that these are some of the common reactions to stress and trauma. And I'm wondering if it might be helpful to show families these pictures so that they can understand common reactions to stress and trauma. And maybe they could circle the symptoms that they feel that they or the child they're thinking of has been having. Now, this may seem a little odd, but people say that when you do odd things, people remember them. And so when I was thinking about all the little animals, I thought it might be good for them to have a theme song. And for copyright purposes, I can't actually play their theme song, but I'll tell you them at the end. of the section where we talk about the different animals, but I want to let you know that Squirrel's theme song is that Willie Nelson song, You Are Always on My Mind. Only what Squirrel would be telling us is, it is always on my mind. So let's think about Rabbit now. Rabbit has a lot of the classic arousal symptoms of PTSD. Rabbit has problems concentrating. A lot of people might say that Rabbit doesn't pay attention, but maybe we should think about Rabbit's ears as antennae that are constantly focused on danger. Rabbit is a danger detector. Rabbit is worried that something bad could happen, and this unfortunately makes it really hard to concentrate and pay attention to other things, like learning the alphabet and reading. Rabbit also helps us to understand that when we're stressed, our bodies release stress hormones. These chemicals help us survive danger by getting us ready to fight or to run. And as you know, Rabbit is a runner. Rabbit is also jumpy, and sometimes Rabbit's a little bit reckless and gets into a lot of accidents. And I wonder if anyone can guess Rabbit's theme song. So Rabbit's theme song is from U2, Where the Streets Have No Name. And if you remember the lyrics, Rabbit would be telling us, I want to run, I want to hide. And here we have Ellie. Ellie is walking away from us as Ellie helps us to understand the classic PTSD cluster of avoidance. Elephant's theme song is Don't Speak by No Doubt. As the lyrics suggest, Elephant doesn't want to think about or talk about what happened. An elephant also doesn't want to be around people, things, or places that might remind Ellie of what happened. Sometimes Elephant even denies what happened. And if you remember, Elephant tells us that Elephant has very sensitive ears. Elephant has always been a little bit sensitive, but stress and trauma can make a sensitive kid react even more to things like noises and lights, touch, smells and tastes, and crowds. And here's poor little Turtle. When Turtle feels scared, Turtle does what all good turtles do. Turtle hides and withdraws. Sometimes Turtle is really sad and cries, and sometimes Turtle just shuts down and doesn't seem to show any feelings at all. It's important that we know that when Turtle's not showing feelings, that Turtle's actually not okay and needs our help. While Turtle is naturally slow, when Turtle is stressed, Turtle slows down even more. And then Turtle doesn't want to do things that Turtle would usually enjoy doing. Stress really affects Turtle's body. If you remember, Turtle says that Turtle has a bad tummy ache. It's pretty common for people to have body aches and health problems related to stress and trauma. In fact, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study done at Kaiser in San Diego with over 17,000 people found that the more types of traumatic experiences a person went through before the age of 18, the higher their risk for significant health problems, including heart disease, strokes, lung disease, and diabetes. Just thinking about all the stress on poor Turtle's body made us want a more upbeat theme song for Turtle. So if you want, pause the webinar and listen to I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross as we cheer on Turtle and hope that Turtle comes out of the shell. Monkey is worried about people leaving. This makes a lot of sense given that so many people have left in Monkey's short little life. Monkey's theme song is Don't Go by Yaz. Monkey really doesn't like it when people leave, even when the separations are for things like going to preschool, or even sometimes when other people go to the bathroom. With all of these changes, Monkey worries a lot. Sometimes Monkey clings to familiar people and doesn't want to go off and explore and do new things. When Monkey's feeling stressed, Monkey sometimes acts much younger. Now, while Monkey stays close to loved ones, some children who've had a lot of losses can be overly friendly with new people. Some children can also have problems with body-based boundaries and may either touch themselves or touch others or let other people touch them in ways that might be unsafe. And so if this is happening, we would want to help them to stay safe. Here's Dog. Dog has challenges regulating emotions and behaviors. This is often quite common in individuals who have complex PTSD. Sometimes Dog loses it and barks or yells. Dog doesn't really want to be this way, but when triggered, Dog can get very easily frustrated or fussy or have massive temper tantrums that are longer or stronger than others of the same age. Once dog is in a state of arousal, dog has a really hard time calming down, and at times dog may get aggressive with others. Common reactions to stress include not only fight and flight, but freeze. The freeze response is thought to happen in response to a threat to survival. Under overwhelming danger, our nervous systems hijack us and take over. We're not in control of our bodies. When Meerkat's under stress, Meerkat freezes and is unresponsive. Meerkat also has a feeling of not being present or connected to the body. Meerkat constantly feels like bad things will happen again and lives with a feeling of dread. And at times, Meerkat even feels like the bad things are happening again. Some people may think it's strange because, like elephant, Meerkat has a hard time talking about what happened. But for Meerkat, it's a little bit different because Meerkat really can't remember what happened. And it's really important that we understand that Meerkat was in such a great state of fear that Meerkat's brain was hijacked and shut down. But unfortunately, Meerkat's body may still remember the danger it experienced. Meerkat's theme song is I Can't Remember by Alice in Chains. That one phrase, I can't remember, repeated over and over, captures the angst that Meerkat goes through. And here we have Skunk. Like dog, Skunk has challenges regulating moods and emotions. It often seems hard to predict how Skunk will feel or what Skunk will do. Skunk's body reacts automatically to stress. Skunk is often hijacked, just like Meerkat. Skunk, of course, sprays and becomes a little stinker when scared. But other body-based reactions that people might have include sweating profusely, having a rapid heartbeat, problems breathing, and prolonged physiological distress. With all of this happening, Skunk has a very negative body image and also a very negative view of self, with lots of shame and guilt. Skunk also doesn't really trust others and has a lot of relationship problems. Skunk's theme song? Love Stinks from the J. Giles Band. Lastly, we have Frog. When we work with young children, we often see that stress and trauma can affect the development of core skills and capacities. Some children have developmental delays that are pervasive, and others show delays but only when they're stressed. We might see regressions or delays in language. For example, Frog can't talk when Frog is scared. There might be motor delays, toileting delays, delays in the ability to connect and form relationships or to be able to play with others, cognitive delays, and in older children this might include problem-solving delays, and delays in emotion regulation capacities. Some children might not have the ability to self-soothe. When they're upset, they have a hard time calming down. And this is often because when they were little, they needed more soothing from other people than they were able to get. And this lack of enough soothing may result in delays in their emotion regulation abilities. When we see delays in children, it's important to understand whether they may be related to stress and trauma. If they are, we'll need to think about how we restore the child's sense of safety and their ability to connect with others, as these will be critical to helping them to blossom and develop. Okay, so we've talked about the stress response patterns of the 9 different animals. Let's do a quick recap using their theme songs. So Squirrel's theme song, Willie Nelson's You Are Always on My Mind, with the lyrics changed to It Is Always on My Mind. Rabbit, Where the Streets Have No Name by U2. I want to run, I want to hide, I want to tear down the walls that hold me inside. Elephant, Don't Speak by No Doubt. Don't speak, I know what you're saying, so please stop explaining. Don't tell me 'cause it hurts. Turtle, a little bit more positive, I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross. Monkey, Don't Go by Yaz. Dog, Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood by Nina Simone. Meerkat, I Can't Remember by Alice in Chains. Skunk, Love Stinks. Hopefully Skunk will learn something new. And Frog, Sing a Song by the Carpenters. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing. Sing a song. Now, if you identify with one of the little animals and you have a theme song that works for you, please feel free to share it with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/PIplo Productions. We all deserve an awesome theme song to guide healing. We've been talking a lot about each specific animal, but before we move on to thinking about how we can help them, perhaps it would be helpful to think about how the animals sometimes have symptoms that are opposite from one another. For example, squirrel talks and plays a lot about it, and elephant doesn't want to talk about it. Squirrel is overwhelmed by memories, and meerkat can't remember what happened. Rabbit moves a lot. Turtle is shut down and less active. Monkey could be overly friendly with new people, and skunk doesn't trust others. Perhaps as we look at these connections and others, we can see that health can be found somewhere in the middle, in helping them to find a balance. This is part 2 of the webinar titled When We Are Scared. Now that we understand some of the ways that children may react when stressed, let's think about how we can help them recover and heal. Let's think about how we can create healing spaces. We've actually already begun because you've taken the time to listen to this webinar, and because together we're thinking about how to better understand their reactions to stress and trauma. Let's continue by going back to the story. In the story, all the little animals were scared. And by the end of the story, with the help of the porcupine, things were different. Of course, this is just a story, but we've seen changes like this happen when we've worked with parents and other caregivers. As we think about how to help the animals, it may be helpful to put ourselves in Porcupine's place. Porcupine saw what was happening and made some changes that resulted in changes in the little animals and changes in the ways that they connected with each other. Let's take some time and think about what we each might put into a healing space. This is a good place to pause the video and think with a friend or colleague. So what would you put in a healing space? You may have thought about some of the things that are in this handout, which we talked about a little bit before. And it's great if you can make a plan to do some of this. Let's think about how they can help. So here we have Dog in a state of alarm. And after a while in this environment of danger, Dog may feel not only angry, but sad and alone. It helps Dog if there's a loving grown-up who lets Dog know that grown-ups are trying to make things safer. Even when the world outside is dangerous, grown-ups can create safe spaces and moments of safety. There's a beautiful story I once heard about a mom and a child who were homeless. The mother kept a small piece of fabric, and whenever they would go to a new place, to a friend's house or to a homeless shelter, she would put the piece of fabric up above the child's bed, and she would tell the child a story. This mom created an island of safety for her child. When we're working to help a child and a family, we need to understand whether there's danger where they live. In this picture, what we see in the corner is a character from another book that we wrote a while ago, called the two-headed green and purple bogglebeast. This character symbolizes the danger, because if the bogglebeast is in the home or in the environment, if there is danger, then it makes sense that as this child walks through life, the child should have symptoms, just like the other little animals in the story. We're all wired to respond and react to danger. When there is a child who's in a situation of danger, we want to make sure that they're not alone and stranded, or that they don't feel alone and stranded. Because when a child is alone and in danger, the ways that they typically survive and respond is through those common stress response pattern of fight, flight, and freeze. If we want them to be able to calm down, regulate, and learn, and develop to the fullest of their potential, we're going to need to try to rebuild their sense of safety and protection. In the words of Circle of Security, they're going to need to feel like, in general, grown-ups, and in particular their grown-ups, are bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. In the picture on the right, what you see is a grown-up who is standing between the child and the scary thing. In early childhood, we call this the myth of the powerful protective shield. that little children need to believe that when there is danger, their grown-ups will always stand in and protect them. And when there's damage to that shield, because the child or family have experienced trauma and stress, one of the things that we need to do together is to rebuild that sense of protection, as well as ensure that there is actual safety. So it's important that as a society, when grown-ups have problems or challenges, that we think about how we can support them in becoming safer. Children need grown-ups who understand what they've been through and who let them know that we're all working together to help them be connected to the people they love and to help them feel safe. Now, Porcupine is a lovely grown-up, but to the little animals, at first Porcupine looks a little prickly and scary. So they're watching really carefully to see who Porcupine is. And Porcupine does a lot of really great things to rebuild the protective shield. The animals have a list of things that will help them to feel safer. And Frog notices when Porcupine acknowledges what happens. When Porcupine says, "I'm so sorry someone hurt you before. No one is going to hurt you here." Frog takes notice. And you can see Frog in the corner. Frog is very happy. Rabbit's antennae are up, and Rabbit notices when Porcupine takes actions towards safety. When Porcupine tells the little animals that it's Porcupine's job to keep them safe, and that they can tell Porcupine what's happening, and that this adult will listen and will try to help, Rabbit feels much better. Over time, Meerkat becomes aware that things are changing. Meerkat notices changes in the other little animals, and this allows Meerkat to feel present and to be able to find some peace. Acknowledging past danger, harm, and lack of protection, reassuring children that we are working together to do things differently, taking actions that really show that things can be different. These are some of the ways that we create healing spaces. Porcupine asks, "What about you?" Porcupine tries really hard to understand what's going on for each little animal. Porcupine understands that behaviors are communication. And when the animals have symptoms, like when dog has sort of a symptom of barking or anger inside dog's body, Porcupine tries to catch their meaning. If we go back to these pictures and we think of each of the orange symptoms as balls, our task as grown-ups is to catch the symptoms, not to catch them inside us, but to kind of hold on to them, to look at them, and to try to understand them. We might be in danger of feeling pelted by the symptoms, and if we feel like that, we're in danger of just throwing them back at the kid. What kids really need is for us to hold them and to understand what's going on and to throw back interactions that communicate different messages, that you're safe, you're lovable, you can be angry or sad and be understood, you can have feelings and not get stuck with them. You can learn something new about anger. You can learn something new about people. There are always times that we don't understand or that we feel like we're getting pelted by symptoms. And at those times, it may be important to get together with another grown-up and to get some help. It's important that we have healing spaces with good colleagues so we can have a chance to really think about what dog might have been through, and so we can come back and do something that might help dog feel safe with us. In this picture, Porcupine is getting some help from Parrot. And Parrot is really acknowledging that things are frustrating and that they can think together about dog. Maybe think about what happened to dog and think about what might help dog feel safe. This is a lovely green space for Porcupine. And as Porcupine and Parrot create this space, things start to change for the way that Porcupine sees dog. And maybe things will change also for dog. Because it's by holding the symptoms and the pain and then offering healing and new interactions in return that Porcupine changes things, and that perhaps all of you change things on a daily basis. So just to go over it again, we seek to understand. We understand that behaviors are communication. We hold the symptoms and the pain, and together with colleagues, we think about how to offer healing interactions. Some of the healing interactions include simple things like sports, music and arts. Meerkat is practicing deep breathing and mindfulness. The animals are in a woodland school where Porcupine and Parrot have decided that these things are good for all children, and they're especially good for children who've experienced trauma. Porcupine knows that the children are learning not only the alphabet and math, but what to do when they or someone else is feeling scared, sad, angry, frustrated, embarrassed, or ashamed. Porcupine knows that you learn this lesson not by reading about it or talking about it, but through everyday interactions, making a new friend and having time to play with them, running around and getting into your body, learning new things like writing, and then getting frustrated when you can't do it and learning how to deal with frustration, and then seeing that you're actually good at things. Rabbit is feeling much better too. When Rabbit is stressed, Rabbit now realizes that there's a safe place and a loving family member who will hold and cuddle Rabbit and let Rabbit know that things can get better. Rabbit is learning that bad feelings can go away and that it's okay to snuggle in and relax. It's okay to put away your danger detectors, to lower your antenna, and then to tune in to feelings of love and comfort. So we're going to wrap up a little bit now, but let's end with Ellie. Ellie helps us to see that one of the ways that we create healing spaces is also to acknowledge that while it's hard to talk about things, often what is kept inside us hurts us. Often it's still on our mind, even though we're not talking about it. And so, like Ellie, it's important that we help kids and grown-ups understand that it's okay to talk about things sometimes, that it can be helpful if we can find the right people and the right times to share what's inside us and to learn new ways that we can be with each other. Thanks for spending this time with me, learning about how stress and trauma affect young children and how we can partner to help them. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit our website, PIploProductions.com, or follow us on Facebook. Other great websites include childparentpsychotherapy.com, nctsn.org, which is the website of the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, and 0to3.org for information about infants, toddlers, and young children. We hope you'll join us again as we're planning to do more webinars in the future. Thank you. Oh, there's one more thing. The animals wanted you to know that they have a new theme song. Their new theme song is I Will Survive with Gloria Gaynor. Go ahead and play it and dance with them. That's definitely what I'll be doing after I finish this webinar. Thanks again for watching, and join us for another webinar by PIplo Productions real soon.